Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and today I am going to show you another one-sheet wonder that I created. I'll be taking one double-sided sheet of 6x6 pattern paper and I'll be making these 3 cards. So let's make this. Today I'm crafting with the Cat Scrappiness coffee quokka release. Super adorable. I love all of the quokkas that Cat Scrappiness releases, and so I was really excited to craft with this new release. The cards that I'm making today this is actually the first one-sheet wonder that I created. If you caught my earlier video on the 14th, I did do a one-sheet wonder, but that was actually the second set of one-sheet wonders that I made directly after I made this one. So I'm starting off by just cutting 3 1-inch strips. And that leaves half of a sheet here. This sheet is 6 by 3, and along the 6-inch edge, I'm just going to cut 2-inch sections. So I have 3 sections that are 2 by 3 inches. And then I'm going to take those initial 3 strips that were 1 inch wide, and I'm going to cut half an inch off. So I'll end up with a segment that is 5.5 inches tall by 1 inch wide, and then I'll have 3 small segments that are 1 inch tall by half an inch wide. This is such a simplistic way to approach a one-sheet wonder because it was the first time I attempted to make my own, and you might can tell that all I did was basically cut the pattern paper in half and then cut each of those halves into thirds. So on one half I just cut it into long strips, and the other half I cut it into these rectangles. And I've got the little small leftover, those little half-inch sections will be little banner flags. So you don't have to be super fancy with your cuts. My second attempt at a one-sheet wonder, which was the 3 Easter cards that I made, 2 of them featured a diagonal cut, so I thought that was kind of fun. But if you're just trying this out for yourself, this is probably a really easy way of thinking about it in terms of just trying to create identical cards and get really simplistic cuts off of your 6x6 pattern paper. The key, I feel, is to find a sheet of pattern paper where the front and the back complement each other, not just coordinate with each other, because of course if you are pulling them from the same paper pad, they will coordinate by color and theme, but you want them to also complement each other. And by that I mean that the patterns aren't too similar to where they both compete with your eye's attention. So here you can see one actually has a print of the quokkas, and then on the back side, on screen it might look like it's solid, but there's actually a very subtle print to it. But that's why it works so well, because it almost serves as a solid color cardstock, but the colors coordinate beautifully with the print that's on the other side of it. And so that way both papers can sort of shine in equal measures. So if your eye tends to be drawn to solid blocks of color, then maybe you see the rectangle piece first. If your eye is drawn to pattern, then maybe you see that strip of printed, the quokkas that are printed on it, maybe you see that first. So they're different enough that, you know, whatever your eye tends to get to be drawn to first, you'll see that first, and then take in the rest of the card. And so I did generate a little bit of waste by cutting down my banner flag. It just felt a little too long. But essentially, with these cuts, you'll use everything and not have any scraps left over. And that's kind of why I love One Sheet Wonder projects, because it does make use of pretty much everything, and you get a few really quick and easy cards to create. So I'm showing these two cards first because they are going to be pretty identical to one another, but this sketch or layout is so simple and versatile that you could change this up and rotate everything so that you have a landscape card too. So it just depends on whether you feel like your focal image benefits from a more landscape orientation, or if you feel like it benefits from a more portrait orientation. And then the other thing that I like to look for in my pattern paper is, because we're just using the one sheet, I do like to try to make sure that if one side does have a proper orientation to it, that the back side is non-directional. That way you have a lot more freedom and flexibility to mix things up a little bit and be able to use both sides. It's more ideal if both the front and the back of your pattern paper are non-directional. That gives you even more choices, because then you can use all of your segments either on the front or the back. So that's definitely another thing to keep in mind when you're choosing your pattern paper. And I kind of like this sort of mini version of a one sheet wonder, where I am just using literally the one sheet of pattern paper and getting the most out of it so that I don't have scraps at the end. And I use everything up as much as possible. And then I get a few cards out of it. So it's a quick and easy project, and great if you are down to just, a few sheets in your paper pad too. Okay, so here on this layout, I am going to change things up as much as possible. So first, I've rotated this so that it's landscape top folding. Second, I have that long strip. I'm using the more subtle, solid-looking pattern. And for the square, I flip that over and I'm using the side with the print. So this is the benefit to using double-sided pattern paper, so that not only can you get all of the pieces you need to complete the card, but you can flip things around, change things up a little bit. And here you can see that originally this was cut down for those long strips, where the quokkas, if I had used this in the taller orientations, they wouldn't be actually rotated the right way. So by changing up the sketch to rotate everything so that it's landscape, now I can use these quokkas as this rectangular piece, and they would be oriented correctly. Because recall, on the first two set of cards, I used this rectangle piece also in its portrait orientation. And so that's why, even if you do have directional papers, you can make things work. It's just easier if at least one side is non-directional, so that you kind of have a little bit of freedom and flexibility to mix and match between them. And when you see me add this little bit of scrap paper to the backs of things, it's just to kind of even up the layers when I'm placing something like a panel or a die cut that crosses over different layers and it's not even underneath. So you can see part of it is overlapping the strip that goes across the bottom, and then part of it is attached directly to my card base. And these card bases that I'm working with are pretty cool. I did buy them pre-made. They are a nice color, come in a variety of different colors, but it's actually white on the inside of the card, so it does make it easy to stamp an additional sentiment and write a message on the inside. And I find that it's so convenient to work with these for that reason, because if you make your card base out of solid color cardstock, which would be, it would be colored on the inside as well. And then I always feel like I have to add, especially if it's a darker cardstock, add a panel of white to the inside so that I can actually stamp an additional sentiment and actually write and sign the card. So once I found these, I thought they were really great to craft with, and I just got these at Hobby Lobby in case you want to know. But I'm sure other craft stores sell them as well. And because I'm placing my sentiment and my focal image of this quokka sitting on top of a pile of coffee beans, and they're going on top of a print, I decided to add a shadow layer. So for the shadow layer of my quokka, I just used the same coordinating die to die cut from solid color cardstock, and that will help to offset him a little bit so that he kind of stands up off of the background a little bit. And same with my sentiment banner. I've added just a thin border of that same brown cardstock, again, just so that it doesn't fade too much or blend too much into the pattern paper behind it. And I do like to use my 3D glue gel when I am attaching things that are on an uneven surface below. But here's a close look at this final card. Really love creating these one-sheet wonders. I think I'll be doing more of this and try to challenge myself to come up with different sketches. But at this point, I've played with so many card sketch challenges that the ones that I really love that kind of speak to my eyes and aesthetic, I think I've just internalized them at this point. And so I don't claim that any of these layouts are truly unique and never been seen before. And that's just going to happen with card sketch challenges, and that's the beauty of them. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel if you aren't already. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye.